Okay. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the second meeting of the Agent Privacy and Security Subgroup of the Decentralized AI Agent Alliance. We started the alliance in January of 2025, and we have 225 founding members today. And we have events and we do work in subgroups. And this is, again, the second meeting of the Agent Privacy and Security Subgroup, which is chaired by Chris. So with that, I'll turn it over to Chris.
Okay, thanks, Lou. Hi, welcome everyone to the second meeting of the DAIAA Agent Privacy and Security Subgroup. I'm Chris Beal from Open Matter Network, and I chair this group. So thanks, Lou, for the intro and having us all along, building this out. We are going to have some discussion topics at the end proposed by Lisa to figure out how we can build this out in an even stronger way and get all these subgroups working together. So stick around for the end. We may have some more people joining in late, but that's what we post these on YouTube each week. You can take a look at the DAIAA YouTube channel for other subgroup recordings and engage in the comments there. So this week, we are, let me just give you a quick recap of what we did last week. In our inaugural meeting, we mapped out the massive production readiness gap. So that's what enterprises are facing with agent deployments. And we established our 3 core pillars to solve it. So that's verifiable audit trails, distributed secrets, and trust scoring. Today, we're going to move from identifying the problems to architecting the solutions. Our focus today is on the specific legal frameworks creating this gap and the technical standards that allow us to deploy secure, compliant agents at scale. As a quick look at today's agenda, we'll start by examining the big 3 compliance barriers, which are freezing deployments right now. Then we'll look at the cryptographic architecture required to bridge that gap, analyze how personal and enterprise deployments differ, and then finally we'll discuss our subgroups tracking priorities for the next few weeks. Before we jump in, we can do a quick intro. So if anybody is new here and you want to introduce yourself, or even if you were here last week and you want to say hi, just go ahead and raise your hand, or just jump right in, state your name, organization, and your core interest area. I'll give this a couple of minutes for people to join in. Zoe, go ahead.
Great. Thank you, Chris. And hello, everyone. Lou, good to see you again. We were connected last year. And yeah, I'm Zoe from Ledgerless. I joined the team recently, and we had a call with Jason from Privacy Paul last week, and he reminded me to join this alliance, and we provide at Ledgerless a secure hardware chip, which is open source, including you can have also a protocol on it, but at the moment we are focusing on the hardware chip itself to have a root of trust and to verify and secure agents for this use case specifically. We are going into high assurance use cases as well, but I'm happy to be here and to work on architecture ideas with you guys.
Amazing. Yeah, I can't wait to hear more about that in the weeks moving forward. Joe, go ahead. Joel, sorry.
No worries. Thanks, Chris. And hello, everybody. My name is Joel Hillier. I am an Australian living abroad in Salt Lake City, Utah. And I run a company called Certison, which is a verification infrastructure company for any type of trust transaction, and specifically involved in agentic trust relationships. And yeah, I've got some really fun things happening on one of our calls next week with Eric and Alex. We'll be demonstrating an agentic AI trust stack in real time. So if you've got some time next Monday, then come along and join that as well. But very excited to be here and to listen to the content.
Fantastic. Robin, I see you put your hand up.
Thank you, and very pleased to meet you all. I'm Robin. I'm with Crypto Mondays with Lou and Alan and DAIAA, effectively, as an extension of Crypto Mondays. So yeah, I'm just coming to listen in to hear what the privacy and security is all about. I can't attend all the groups, but I'm here to just pop in and see how you're doing, and if there's any way we can lend you a hand with anything. So thank you, and pleased to meet you all.
Likewise, thank you. Eric, I don't think you need much of an introduction, but welcome.
Thanks for having me, Chris. Yeah, I'm Eric Forst. I'm the CEO of Bloxy, and we make documents and agreements available in a zero custody environment, storing hashes on chain and signatures on chain. We have an MCP server that's live if anyone wants to try it out and see how agreement signing works with agents. We also published a protocol called Consenti, which is an open source MIT license that enforces terms before transactions for agentic commerce. So it's meant to kind of complement X402, which will, in that it will issue a 409 error. If the agreement's not in place, it will prevent the payment from taking place. And I'm also run the DAIAA Agentic Commerce Subgroup. And as Joel said, we have a partnership. We're working with Certicen and with Secret Network, which runs a trusted execution environment. And so we are going to share a demo in the DAIAA member showcase on Monday that just shows how all three of our technologies, along with PayPangea for payments, can all interoperate to create a trusted stack for agentic commerce.
Fantastic. Okay, great. So yeah, anybody interested in that, go ahead and visit their meeting on Wednesday. And Monday, you've got your showcase. Yeah, perfect. I don't see any other hands raised. Yeah. Oh yeah, Bruce, go for it.
Hey, I just want to say, Chris, I remember you mentioning your relationship with HOL, Hashgraph Online, and I know I just added a Codex has a skill. There's a GitHub repository that they're part of. They have a skill added within the Codex environment that I just implemented today because I have an HCS system that's recording all the AI agentic behavior with the my TSI Citadel. But on top of that, I also represent the DREC Alliance. If everyone has an interest in getting involved with secrets protection, I'll come back to that another time, but it's drec.org. It's a nonprofit 501(c). Anyway, I'm very excited to have your follow on from your last meeting. Was great. So
thank you. Okay. Yeah, I really enjoyed learning about DREC as well. Very interesting. Anyone else want to jump in? Intros? Let's see any other hands. Okay, we'll go ahead and get started, dive into the meaty part. So our first major topic is the compliance barrier. Right now, enterprise procurement and legal departments are freezing agentic deployments. It doesn't really matter how incredible your multi-agent framework is. If you can't prove to a CISO that your agent respects legal boundaries, you won't get into production. We can't scale the agentic economy without crossing the chasm between static statutory laws and dynamic autonomous software behavior. Today, we're going to look at the big three regulatory domains creating this bottleneck. We have global data privacy, AI-specific mandates, and sector-critical systems. So we're going to start with data privacy. If you're touching user data in Europe or California, you're dealing with GDPR and CCPA. Under GDPR, we have Article 25 mandating privacy by design and Article 30 requiring a strict record of processing activities. Under CCPA, you have strict rules around automated decision-making and data deletion. So what's the agentic implication? Autonomous planning and cross-silo data retrieval trigger instant purpose creep. If you point an agent at an enterprise database, it's going to dynamically pull whatever context it thinks it needs, likely combining data far outside its original legal basis. This creates a massive architectural hurdle. How do you log these dynamic autonomous loops to satisfy an auditor without accidentally building a raw plain text surveillance log? So I've got a question for the crowd here. I'd love to hear if anyone on this group is currently using cryptographic processing records to satisfy these compliance logs without exposing the raw data. Just shout out if anybody's using them yet, or raise your hand. If not, we'll just move on. Okay. Next slide. Moving from privacy to AI specific law, let's look at how the EU AI Act. This is the world's first comprehensive AI law using risk-based classification. Prohibits manipulative AI, mandates strict oversight for high-risk systems, and requires foundation model transparency. So because agents act proactively and make decisions on the behalf of users, most enterprise deployments are going to default to the high-risk tier. By law, that requires explicit human oversight controls, aka human in the loop. And we have to face the August 2026 reality. Due to the Brussels effect, the EU AI Act is going to force these oversight rules to become the global engineering baseline. So anyone here handling this currently? Are you designing for human in the loop overrides? Or are you betting that cryptographic verification will satisfy these requirements? Eric, go ahead.
Yeah, so as you'll see in the demo on Monday, when you hit the consent, an agent running the consenti protocol, and it forces an agreement to be put in place before transaction can be made, it then connects to the Bloxy MCP server that sends agreements for signing by a human. So it actually initially triggers an email to your inbox where you click and then make the signature. If it requires both parties, then the rest of the agreement can proceed. So yeah, absolutely creates that human in the loop override with our process.
Okay, perfect. So that's a good example of human in the loop. And do you see a world in where that can be mitigated with cryptographic verifications, or where anybody would even want to? How do we automate that process?
Yeah, I do. I mean, so it allows for both options. So if the consenti protocol sees that there is an agreement available to inspect, the buying agent could look at that agreement, and then it could verify that there are no offending terms that violate any of its library of like agreements that the chief legal officer or compliance officer is, required that procurement agent has in place. So it could conceivably say, yeah, this agreement is fine. There's nothing offending. I'm going to go ahead and check a terms and conditions acceptance, just like if it was that type of agreement where it's just a checkbox to accept that agreement. And then it could move forward without the human in the loop if you set it that way. But it's still saying there's an agreement here, and I'm making a signature on behalf of this entity because I don't see anything offending our legal requirements. So it could enable that.
Right, that makes sense. So with the right company policy, and assuming you're adhering to the specific EU AI Act, well, assuming you're operating in EU or specific regional boundaries, then yeah, you could essentially eliminate human in the loop.
Yeah, it would allow for that, and I think it would still be a legally compliant agreement because it's just saying, yeah, the agent has inspected this on my behalf, and I trust the way my agent, my agent's judgment. And then there is a law here in the U.S. called UETA, Uniform Electronic Transactions Act, which says that if agents make an agreement, it's legally binding, whether you personally oversaw it or not. So you have to be really careful to allow that to happen. But if an agent does transact and put an agreement in place, that's legally binding, and that's a law that's been on the books since 1999 here in the U.S. in 49 of 50 states, and it was really designed to enable electronic signatures for things like DocuSign, but it does apply to what we call electronic agents, so it still applies.
And so where does the legal risk fall? Does that fall on whoever deployed the agent, whoever's hosting the agent?
Whoever deployed the agent bears the legal responsibility and the risk for whatever that agent did. Yep.
Got it. Interesting. Okay, nice. Well, that's a great example. Thanks, Eric.
Yep.
Right. So next slide, HIPAA, which I'm sure we're all familiar with, and PCI DSS. HIPAA is healthcare. PCI DSS is in finance. So under HIPAA, the absolute limit is the minimum necessary data access standard. The agentic risk that is that agents pulling raw medical context windows can't simply read everything and choose what to use later, that violates the standard. Or PCI DSS version 4, the mandate is the absolute isolation of cardholder data. The risk here is ensuring that intermediate agent memory, runtime logs, or even the arguments passed to an external tool never accidentally capture or cache payment variables. So which of these presents a higher barrier to deployment for you guys today? Is it specific data rules like HIPAA and PCI, or blanket AI legislation like the EU AI Act? Let's just take a minute to discuss that here. What are the highest barriers to deployment for everyone here today?
The Citizen is a verification infrastructure company, and consequently, we attempt to design into the platform compliance with over 30 regulatory regimes globally. So the platform audits itself 24/7 to ensure that it is compliant and that the actions and operations that clients perform under the Citizen brand are compliant with whatever they are. So we can verify that in the code that the standards that you've mentioned here, all of them so far, actually operating all of the time, in as much as we haven't been audited for some of them because they don't require an audit, but some have been. And so that is something that we've intentionally done because we operate on trust relationships, and the people that operate on the Citizen platform were conducting transactions using the principle of trust. So we've tried to hold the platform itself to the highest standards globally, and it continually updates every time a new thing comes out. So that's something that we do to prevent, I guess, some of those risks that you've mentioned here.
Okay, that makes sense. So constantly auditing and making sure that you're compliant wherever possible. And have any of those actually been a barrier to any of the tools that you're deploying?
No, actually, in fact, they're an enhancement because we audit the platform continuously against, at the present count, 32 global standards. We can now sell that specific capability to clients who are operating their own technologies, and we can audit their technology and their policy library, etc., to make sure, at least from the outside, and we're granted on the inside as well, that they're continuously compliant. So SOC 2 Type 2 or ISO 27001, if someone gets certified, that usually means they've had an audit and then they wait another 12 months before they get an interim. Where the platform that Citizen operates says, we can deploy a capability to you that shows that you're continuously compliant in between your actual audits. And so that's a unique feature that allows us to help people who are operating in those standards environments to be compliant, not just at audit time, but all the way through.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, I definitely want to learn more about Citizen moving forward.
Sure.
I'll be at that meeting on Monday if time allows. Anyone else want to share their thoughts on this? If not, then we're going to move on.
Hey, Chris,
to,
I just want to
yeah.
quickly note that I dropped in a link to the month before last DAIAA general meeting. Our featured guest was Dr. Alex Kahana, who I think is the smartest guy at the intersection of crypto and healthcare, and increasingly becoming a thought leader at the on AI and healthcare as well. And so I don't know if you were there
Amazing.
at that meeting.
I don't think I was at that one. What did you say? It was a month ago?
Yeah, I guess it was the June meeting.
Okay. Possibly. I don't recall off the top of my head. But yeah, link is in the chat. For those of you who are watching this later on YouTube, hopefully, Lou, you can drop that into the comments as well.
Okay.
Perfect. Okay. Also, anybody here who wants to share, I see we've got Zoe and Bruce of both posted in the chat. Just drop a link to the project that you're working on, because these will be hopefully added into the description of our video. Make sure that we get all your links in there, because we want to know who's building and what you're building, and make sure that we're all sharing and building the pie together.
Hey, there's tons of food here if you need.
Yes. Let's all eat, Lisa.
Oh,
I said
I thought
I
not
said
the one.
you're not on mute. Yeah. I said build the pie, and
Where is
Lisa
it?
said loads of food. I've
There's
just
food
muted
here.
Lisa.
Just
I've just muted Lisa. There we go.
That was well
There
timed.
we go. That was very well timed. Lots of food. Build the pie. Okay. So we're gonna move on to technical architecture. So this is our next slide. Now we know the regulations require compliance, but our core thesis is that traditional security perimeters are dead. We simply can't build static firewalls around dynamic agents. Instead, we need to shift our focus from auditing the unvetted neural network itself to cryptographically auditing the agent's boundary actions. To actually implement this, we need 3 cryptographic primitives. I'm sure there are others out there. These are the ones that we focus on mainly at Open Matter Network, and we're going to open this up to more discussion around those, so we can build out what those primitives are that we need. First on my list is multi-party computation for mass computation. Second, we have zero-knowledge proofs to verify the execution. And third, we have post-quantum cryptography to ensure long-term resilience of the ledger. So here's an architectural blueprint that we've spec'd in the Hashgraph Online working group called Zero Knowledge Boundary Compliance, or ZKBC. And it relies on 3 mechanics. The first is complete mediation. This enforces a non-bypassable gateway on all agentic I/O channels, whether that's user prompts, tool calls, or data retrieval. Any direct unmediated connections are rejected at the protocol layer. So by forcing every interaction through a singular cryptographic choke point, this shifts security from trusting the AI model itself to strictly verifying its environment. It mathematically guarantees that no unverified data or unauthorized tool call can ever enter or exit the agent's context window. Next up, we have policy families. The gateway evaluates the agent's actions locally in plain text, but it emits a ZK proof binding that execution to a specific user tool and access policy versions. This mechanism separates the proof of compliance from the content of the execution, allowing enterprises to prove an agent obeyed the rules without exposing the sensitive data that it processed. Regulators receive absolute mathematical certainty that policies were enforced, while the raw plain text remains entirely private. Then we have proof modes. These support batch modes for post hoc session audits, real-time modes for inline mitigation blocks, and recursive modes for infinite cumulative proof logging. These distinct operational modes give engineering teams the exact flexibility needed to balance computational overhead with their specific security requirements. Developers can enforce millisecond latency blocks for live user interactions, or use recursive proofs to aggregate thousands of background agent tasks into a single highly efficient audit receipt. So these are the maybe looking back at this slide here, our 3 cryptographic primitives. Would anybody like to shout out other primitives that they're currently using or that are on the horizon that we should also be considering in here? No. Okay. Well, if something comes up later, then be sure to drop it in the comments on the YouTube video. Okay, so we're going to move on. And next up, we have the standards map. So when we map this ZKBC, zero knowledge boundary compliance architecture back to standard governance structures, it completely changes how we approach compliance. For ISO 4201, the traditional approach is documented manual governance, and ZKBC evolves this into continuous programmatic risk verification. I'll just give a quick overview of ISO / IEC 42001. This is the first certifiable standard for AI management systems requiring documented governance, risk assessment, and lifecycle management for AI deployments. And the agentic implication is that enterprise procurement will soon require ISO 42001 certification. Agent developers need to demonstrate formal governance structures, impact assessments, and continuous monitoring, not just technical performance. Is anyone here using 42001?
Yes. Yeah, that's one of the
Joel.
standards that we do.
Okay, perfect. I'm going to assume that, Joel, you're using all of these standards.
Correct.
Perfect. Nice. Did you drop your link in the chat, Joel?
Yeah, I
you
put
did.
citizen.com in there. Yeah.
Excellent. Okay, next up is NIST. For NIST AI RMF, you traditionally rely on point-in-time lifecycle measurement. ZKBC turns that into deterministic execution boundaries. So a quick overview of the NIST AI risk management framework. That is the U.S. National Institute of Standards and Technology's voluntary framework for managing AI risks across the lifecycle. Emphasizes governance, mapping, measuring, and managing AI risks with sector-specific profiles. And the agentic implication is that agents amplify the measure and manage functions. Autonomous action requires continuous risk assessment rather than point-in-time evaluation. Tolerability thresholds must be hard-coded, not manually monitored. And we have SOC Type 2. Instead of an auditor doing retrospective log sampling over time, ZKBC provides a mathematical proof of processing integrity for every single action. So overview of SOC Type 2. This is the audit standard for cloud service providers evaluating security, availability, confidentiality, and processing integrity over time. Type 2 requires 3 to 12 months of operational evidence. So this is like an ongoing standards audit that happens over a longer period of time. There's also SOC Type 1, which is more of an initial review of the tools that a company is using and how they process and handle data. It's a one-off audit. SOC Type 2 is more of an ongoing thing. The agentic implication, agents as sub-processors introduce unpredictable workload. They risk traditional change management introduce unpredictable workload risk. Traditional change management fails when agents self-modify. Organizations must prove processing integrity cryptographically rather than through static controls. So these are, our main standards. There are definitely others out there. I'm looking forward to getting a hand on that list that you've been using, Joel, so we can dive deeper into some of those other standards later down the line.
Sure.
Okay, so moving on. Of course, how we deploy this depends entirely on the environment. So in a personal or local profile, your primary threat is local device compromise or direct data leakage. Therefore, your gateway placement is a local client-side daemon, and you must run your cryptography in real time to keep up with the low latency user loop. There's actually a really interesting tool that was launched by HOL. Some of you might even be using it. Let's see if I can find it quickly. It is the HOL Guard, I think it's called. And I'm just going to see if I can drop a link in to HOL Guard in the chat as well, because this is interesting for developers. It was mentioned in the Monday meeting, and I've got a link to the affiliate link, but I don't want that one. HOL Guard. Let's see here. Grab that. Perfect. And I'll even share my screen here briefly so you guys can take a quick look at what this is. So pop that out. And now I'm going to swap windows. So here's HOL Guard. Stop risky AI actions before they run. OpenMatter is doing something similar called Quantum Guard. Both are in essence a zero knowledge firewall. This is more geared at individuals and developers who are constantly connecting to MCP servers and having open connections with AI agents sort of running back and forth. This acts kind of like an antivirus for agents, if you will. So this is a really interesting one to check out. They do have an affiliate program, so if you've got clients out there who might use it as well, then you should look into that, and you can probably earn some cash off the back of it. So,
would you please, Chris, put the link in the chat? Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Chris, I just also loaded into the chat 3 standards drafts that I've contributed to the IETF. One of them specifically on AI governance, verified AI governance for agentic transactions and workflows.
Okay, sweet. I'm going to add that into my notes. Nice. All right, so we're going to swap back. Okay. In an enterprise platform or profile, an enterprise or platform profile, the threat shifts to multi-tenant isolation breaches and compliance failures. So here the gateway sits at the tenant scope cloud or edge infrastructure level, and you can lean on batch or recursive proofs for scalable audit processing. So while ZKBC addresses the boundary problem, there are still critical standardization gaps we need to solve. First is the agent-to-agent auth. How exactly does agent A verify the compliance posture of agent B before they share data? Second gap is cross-border proofs and how we standardize zero-knowledge proof verification across different legal jurisdictions. To tackle these, we're establishing ongoing work streams for this work group. These are some proposals that I've got for this group moving forward. This is by no means, I don't really want to be giving everybody homework, but I would like people to come back to the subsequent meetings with something to share. And what I'd like to look at potentially is regulatory watch, so tracking US state bills and EU AI Act guidelines, enterprise deployment patterns, mapping live case studies, and technical standards development, which is essentially advancing the ZKBC specs. So I'd like to hear from the group, what do we think is potentially the most important of these 3 that we should definitely be tracking? And what are some good starting points for that? Max, go ahead.
Actually, this is a great point with the gap, and as everybody knows, once we understand the difference between automated and automation, the gap is a heterogeneous for all these AI agents from different organizations to try to interact with each other, and in a secure manner with the semantic going back and forth. I would like to hear from Joel and Eric. What are they using for to resolve those bottlenecks, if they are? If not, next time I would like to go over a method that we're using that hopefully by tomorrow we'll have the patent on it, so I can talk a little bit freely about it in the future. But I would like to hear from Eric and Joel which standard they're using to resolve some of these gaps when it comes to automation between AI agents.
Joel, do you want to go first?
No, I'm happy to hear you, and let me gather my thoughts, because I've got a lot of things going on with how Citizen works, and some of it's also patent privileged, but yeah, there's some interesting things that can be done. So yeah, Eric, you go and I'll follow
Well,
on.
no, I mean, no, it's, you know, if the question is like, how do you resolve disputes? Is that the question? Like, what is the adjudication layer?
I'm running. So you have everybody's building their own agents, okay? And we have to move the information, and it's always on in real time. And when you're moving all this information, the verification of the actual data is moving from the ontologies and the semantic twin, or I deal with the digital twins, but with the semantic layer across all these models, how can we always keep it secure and actually true to what is supposed to be?
Yeah,
to
so
take the decisions. Okay,
yeah.
I'll give you an example. On Monday, we had the CEO of GenLayer speak with us, and he said, "Oh, we 2/3 of the vote, then it's true or something," which makes sense. But if I am in an oil refinery and stuff, if 2/3 of the voters vote that keep the system running, or the oil running, or gas running, and it's wrong, you know what? That's an issue for me. So this is where I am thinking about how can we keep it to secure and true to what is supposed to be, moving from ontology to ontology. So
yeah, that's exactly what the stack that Joel and I have set up does, and it does it through a combination of Citizen, which verifies all of the claims that are taking place between the two parties that are interacting, and with the trusted execution environment running on Secret Network, it allows for a third-party verification of the code and of the frameworks that are being presented by each agent through something like a zero-knowledge proof. It doesn't use that same technique. It just uses a hash, basically. It stores the hash of the code base so that third parties can verify its integrity, make sure there's no malicious code running or malicious intent as far as can be verified. So that's the way we're doing it. But to your initial question about adjudication, yeah, I saw the GenLayer demo as well. I think that's a perfectly great standard to be using if there's a dispute. And I really am excited about this internet court that they're running for disputes. So I think that looks like the way to do that layer, but hopefully it doesn't have to turn into a dispute if you run the full stack that Joel and I have been building.
Yeah.
But Eric, to your point, to move beyond the hallucinating the timeline, you need the continuous mathematic verification. Okay. There is three things simultaneously need to be verified, which is the casual runtime state, the payload semantics, and the process semantics. So how are you dealing with that part?
It's a good question. I'm not sure. I believe we're dealing with it just through the verification system that I've told you. But I mean, it's verifying identity, it's verifying state, it's verifying timestamps. So the Citizen, Joel, you can go ahead. I mean, Citizen verifies all of that.
It does.
Is it autonomous, or is it human in loop, AI in the loop? That's if I can clarify it a little bit.
Yeah, so Citizen operates autonomously, but there's an escalation pathway for certain conditions if they're discovered. So specifically what Citizen does, as Eric explained, it takes claims that people make. So for example, on this call, I can make claims about what Citizen does. And so I can extract those claims from the text of the transcript. And then I can ask, using the Citizen platform, for proof against those things. So it's a claim and evidence reconciliation process is what we do. So it's not an AI tool that's trying to do something smart with some sort of fancy internet searching. It's actually taking what people say, whether it's in written or digital form, or in spoken form, doesn't matter, and it will say, you've said these things, now please provide specific evidence that closes that down so that we can say we've got a one-to-one match against that. So there's mathematical compute which takes that process through to conclusion. And in the first instance, there is some AI to ingest and to understand and normalize the content that's being presented to it. And it does a lot of forensic analysis and security analysis to make sure that it's coming from a credible source and that it hasn't been masked by VPNs or something like that that say we're trying to hide where we're sending this from, or that it also hasn't got, as Eric mentioned, things that would be injectable into the platform in some way that makes it harmful, and various other things. So there is over 200 checks forensically and security-wise that it does before it gets into the engines that do that reconciliation process of claim to evidence. And so Certicen is very specific in that it will verify the claim you make against the evidence that you provide. So it won't necessarily all the time, there are some times when it does, depending on what type of verification, it won't go hunting for evidence for you. It will expect that you have it because you've made that claim, and therefore that you can provide it. And then it will triangulate that against known sources and rate it against the type of evidence, whether it's self-prepared or independently prepared, among a number of other things that it does. Hopefully that helps.
This is fantastic. I look forward to talking with both of you further on this subject. I have a new way of dealing with always-on heterogeneous systems, and we'll talk this. I was waiting to hopefully have a talk with Dr. Alex Kahana, but we haven't had the time. He's been traveling to speak yet. And Eric, sorry, I would like to get to your group, but you always having it at the same time with the aerospace and defense group that I attend. So, and that's why we haven't had the chance to talk. But I hope once I talk to Alex, I will reach out to have a meeting with you and discuss how we actually work on Alex. Project that he's doing. And Joel, we're connected, so I look forward to talk with you and Alex and Eric here further about this subject. But hopefully in the next meeting or so, I will introduce a new method. Our use case is the EU AI Act and how we're satisfying all the local level with the edge, dealing with always on data and how to verify it. But thank you.
Great. Yeah, thanks, Matt. Be sure to that call.
Be sure to drop a link in the chat as well. Zoe, I see you got your hand up there.
Yeah. Thank you. And I overheard the defense group, or if that's the work group, would love to get added to this as well. I just wanted to bring input from our company and our solution, where we have the hardware enforcement, right? The policies on hardware itself, because we provide the open source secure chip. It's similar what TE clouds can provide the remote attestation, but we have, I mean, in addition, you can have write and locked policy, right? So the agent cannot read, modify, or bypass it, and you go one level deeper in the architecture. Deeper than on TE cloud services, and the spending enforcement as well as the offline capabilities are embedded there. So it's for the first time actually that the consumer hardware can prove if the agent is compliant. And just would like to bring in these discussion points for hardware and policy enforcement also going forward.
Yeah, hardware enforcement is an interesting one. Open matter, it's something that we've kind of been avoiding because with TEEs, you're sort of trusting the attestation of the chip manufacturer, and so our cryptographic primitives try and work around that. But there's definitely a time and a place for TEEs. I think all the work that's being done in TEEs is interesting. Eric, you also brought up secret network, which is interesting. So
we don't work with TEs. That's what I want to clarify. I previously worked with Fala Network for TE cloud solutions. Now we are going, what Ledgerless provides is the chip itself, which also can solve geopolitical problems because you don't have to trust the chip manufacturer itself, because it's an open source verifiable chip that can be put in the hardware, and you can have any software operating system on top of it. So I just want to bring to awareness that we can have policy enforcement on hardware level, on chip, hard-coded within the chip, especially for these AI use cases.
Zoe, are you talking about the digital passport? Sorry if I'm cutting off
No,
here. Are you talking about the digital passport ID on the chip?
Any use case. I'm talking about the chip itself. So LedgerLess provides an open source hardware chip, and we can run a remote attestation, identity use cases, just cryptographic, whatever use case you want to run on it. But I want to bring to awareness that hardware enforced policy can make an impact here itself.
Sure.
Cool.
Yeah, we also have a solution for different types of hardware constraints for silicon that's not produced in a friendly territory, perhaps, is one way to say it. And so the way that Citizen solves that is, as far as I'm aware, a little bit different from some of the common things. And I like what Zoe was just saying about the way that they're approaching that. But yeah, we have a solution for that as well that enables us to create verification of things without sharing information with the hardware layer specifically that might be unhelpful or harmful to whatever process is being run. And this has been developed specifically for military and intelligence community applications. And so we have a way to improve the security of things so that if there's any latent, remotely triggering kind of elements in hardware, that we don't have to rely on the hardware, and that it provides opportunities to move information still at the same speed without having to share things. But we can still prove that it transacted the way that it was with a cryptographic seal and derivation chain that says this is what occurred without actually sharing things with bits that you don't want to share it with.
When you speak about speed, are we talking about the processing speed, or are you talking about something else? Are we talking using like quantum calculus to make your speed of simulation or data flow or 20,000 times faster than the normal? Is that what you're talking about?
A little bit of both. So speed of the actual process, yes, but also confirming that the transaction occurred in the way that it was supposed to, without sharing things that it shouldn't share, or interacting with things that we don't trust. So there's a few different elements and layers to that. So Citizen has a post-cryptographic or post-quantum cryptographic protocol called the Corral protocol, which is something that we're about to release very soon. But it operates presently, it's reduced to practice, so it's fully working. We're in the process of getting access to military hardware to confirm it operates in their environments. But yeah, happy for conversations offline about that specifically.
Yeah.
It will be great actually to discuss exactly how the AI governance, I created a diagram and unpacking autonomous AI and what's actually goes in there. And I have a whole column in that diagram about just governance and what's each step and goes into that, which is, there is a lot, but people keep talking about it in general, and it's not that, and all of you knows that simple. So I would like to discuss it, unpack it with you guys, Jewel and Eric, and discuss each step to map how exactly the process happens. So, but good point there. Thank you.
Sure.
Yeah, I'm just I put Nilian into the chat because one of our board members is the CEO currently. He used to be the CTO of Algorand Foundation, and they have a big. And I'm actually meeting with them next week to go over their product offerings. But they're big in the TEE and blind compute area. So I'm just doing a plug for a great. Or I just know the CEO personally, and anyway, does anyone know of Nillion or?
Yeah, they're one of our biggest competitors.
Are they? Okay, I didn't know that.
It's to a point. I mean, you know, there's a lot of market share out there to cover. But yeah, we're building in similar
grow.
areas.
Sometimes it's good to have a competition, you know, to bring
Mhm.
awareness, help grow the market, right? So, yeah.
Zoe, I wanted to ask you a little bit more about Ledgerless because so we've been trying to avoid TEEs for our cryptographic stack. We've been looking into TPMs. Is that what Ledgerless is? Is it a trusted platform module, or is it something different to that?
No, Ledgerless is a protocol where consisting of the hardware, the chip, the open source chip, that it's verifiable. So you can actually verify where the chip was manufactured, right? So solving these geopolitical problems. So the hardware chip plus the protocol on top, where we focus now on agent payments, M2M payments, which is a P2P network. But the main source that we are putting into specific use case right now is the chip itself. And it's not a TE. It's an open source RISC-V chip with specific specifications. And the special part is that it's open source. And this is what actually came out of a discussion in heavy TE side events at conferences where all the TE people came together and say, okay, in the end, you still have to trust the provider of the TE hardware, right? And the certification is there. So that's why TEs overall had difficulties to actually get accepted, also in the Web3 space overall, competing with ZK and FHG and so on. But the idea here is to go a level deeper and to actually enforce everything on the chip itself, which can be verifiable because it's an open source chip, if this makes sense.
Yes, yeah, definitely.
Cool.
Amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So yeah, we're coming up to the end of the hour. This has been a pretty fruitful conversation. I really enjoyed everybody's input. Moving forward, we do have some things that, you know, it would be interesting to cover some of these things. Regulatory watch, enterprise deployment patterns, technical standards development. I'll post about those in the Telegram group and see if we have any hits on those. If not, then I'll just, you know, pick a number out of a hat and we'll move forward with maybe one or maybe all three of these, depending on how things go for next time. I see some people have added their LinkedIns in the chat. That's awesome. I'm connecting with all of you. Go ahead, feel free to add your LinkedIns. Let's all get connected. Lisa, you had mentioned, you touched on the fact that we want to draw the circle and come back around and make sure that we're all connecting these subgroups together. And growing out the DAIAA ecosystem. So why don't you touch on that before we head out?
Sure. I mean, just briefly with Lou. Lou, maybe you can support me here on your road trip that you're going to be starting on, I believe, August 10th. And I'm just trying to get everyone to understand what's out there. So many people are working in silos. I mean, I'm seeing hundreds of different utility platforms being built right now. How do we get everybody on the same page for the regulatory aspects, the global aspect? Because some people are like, oh, we're the only one that has done this. But I'm saying, no, you're not. There's a ton of other platforms doing very similar. So like you said, Chris, earlier, there's enough to go around for everybody that understands this space. I don't think we're going to have like one unicorn that's going to be the end-all solution. So how do we continue these groups with that idea of collaboration, which I think is hard for a lot of companies. We're not used to it coming from old Wall Street. You want to own your own IP, but I don't think that will work in this environment. And any comments, please feel free to share with me or reach out. And I'm hoping, Lou, we can get a calendar that will showcase. I did invite someone new onto the call today. I don't know if he's still on, working with University of Nebraska. who also seems to be having quite a bit of progress. He's winning lots of awards, and hopefully, Watson, I don't know if you're still on or not. Yes, he's on. Maybe introduce yourself, because I think this is valuable. There's Watson, and this is the younger generation that I love, that are really moving the needle and have a lot ahead of them, a lot more than I'll have ahead of me with my age. But maybe Watson, I don't know, Chris, if you want Watson to introduce himself.
Yeah,
I
Watson,
brought
go
on,
for it. Jump in.
feel free, Watson.
Yeah, sorry for joining late. Hi, my name is Watson. I am a full stack developer working on a project I don't know if you guys know Marco Rubel by chance. Maybe Lisa's introduced
Out of
him.
Wyoming. Yeah, maybe, or maybe not. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I am starting to get in conversations with UNO specifically for access to the NAIRR, basically a resource for university students to access tons of GPU power to specialize and train a model. And yeah, I wasn't really sure what to introduce myself with, but I am an independent builder, launched a token a while ago, just been building for a while. And as Zoe's mentioned with Fala, I've been involved with Fala, Polkadot, lots of EVM layer 2s, and have been helping handle decentralized finance, decentralized physical infrastructure. And right now I'm working on a system to help you invent anything, essentially go through a procedure to create a CAD design, convert it, deploy it as an NFT, raise funds through a token launch, and then help people start independent businesses. So been in the ecosystem for a while, been building a lot. Wasn't too sure how to contribute to this conversation, so just try to listen and absorb as much as I can.
Good stuff. So Lou,
Amazing.
I don't know if you want to discuss your piece or not, if Lou's still on. Are you still on?
Well, you're saying your piece? Yeah, I'm on. In terms of the bus trip, the Bitcoin bus trip?
Your bus trip and how to connect to all these, I don't know if you're including this whole group as well, because they all go hand in hand.
Yeah, so I put a link in, we're still trying to figure out kind of how to optimize Luma, because I think that's kind of our main touch point, both at, Crypto Mondays and DAIAA. For the meetings and such. And so we have a DAIAA global calendar. And so, I put that into the chat here. And, we can put other, like Chris, HOL has events that our members should know about. We're happy posting them in there, as well as other, like-minded organizations. I think, part of how my guess is we're going to end up, working with others is as the tooling gets better. I really think that the opportunity for, 2 communities, 10 communities, 100 communities to work together, I think that's really going to change the world.
Yeah, I'd love to
100%.
go join that defense group that I think was Max talked about.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Max,
I
why
was
don't
going to
you tell
talk
us a
to
bit more
Zoe about it.
Sorry, that's actually a paid membership with the DigiTwin Consortium that has all these big defense and aerospace companies. So I can you can see I'm the co-chair of the FinTech group at the DigiTwin. If you click on that on my profile in LinkedIn, it will take you to the DigiTwin, and you can learn more about that. But they have the membership there and all that. So, but a question to Lou and Chris over here: is it possible to bring somebody to give a presentation about everything we're talking about here? A CEO,
Yeah,
a CTO,
absolutely.
or should we
Literally,
just
that
bring
was-
him to? Okay, go ahead.
That was going to be in my closing. That was going to be in my closing statement. If you have somebody who's working in agentic privacy and security specifically, because that's what this subgroup is about, we're going to open this up to guest presentations next week as well. If it's not specifically around agentic privacy and security or compliance overall, then they might be a good fit for one of the other subgroups. So yeah, I don't know if we're connected on Telegram, Max. I'm going to drop my Telegram in there so you can see me.
I don't think I'm connected with you on LinkedIn either. Can you drop your LinkedIn too, please?
Yeah, and my LinkedIn is right there. And yes, Nisa, I'll grab the.
Fantastic.
I will go grab.
And quick question to Lou. Lou, will it be? It is a specific to what we're discussing here, but will it be more beneficial to have it on Crypto Monday, and so we have a wider audience, and maybe we can grab more of those audience to come and share their work and stuff with us in this subgroup? What do you think is the best?
Sure. So, at Crypto Mondays, we have started 3 global subgroups. And one of them is Crypto Monday Decentralized AI, which is the second Monday every month in New York. And we can do that elsewhere. And, I actually, have those, say that they're, co-hosted with DAIAA just to, help get the name out there. And, that's part of where new members come from. But obviously, I think we're just scratching the surface.
Okay, well, we'll discuss it further, and we'll go from there. So,
perfect.
Thank you.
Nice. Okay, so I think that kind of brings an end to this week's meeting. This was a really good one. Again, if you do want to present your infrastructure next week, in 2 weeks rather. Joel, I think you'd be a prime candidate if you want to come in here and talk about some of the stuff you're doing.
Sure.
That would be great to have you. So we will. Are you in the Telegram group, Joel?
Not yet, but I can be.
Okay. Well, we're connected on LinkedIn anyway now, I believe. So we can coordinate that.
Sure. If you just give me some pointers on what specific things you want to talk about, I can happily dive into detail on many fronts.
Absolutely. That's perfect. Okay, so that will be July 29th at the same time, which is 1 p.m. Eastern. Looking forward to seeing you all then. And until then, I'll see you at the meeting on Monday and the various other meetings. Really great meet, everybody. Thanks a lot. And see you soon.
Thanks, Chris.
Fantastic. Good seeing everyone. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye.
Thanks, guys.